Welcome to J is for Justice podcast. If live breaking news and following true crime is your thing, then please consider subscribing to my channel. And if you like what you see in my videos, please consider giving them a thumbs up. Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to J is for Justice. My name is Jay, and I am your host.
Bring it all in.
Welcome to the chat. If you are new here, please consider subscribing. And if you are returning, thank you for coming back. Good to have you guys. And all the clickers in the chat, welcome in, welcome in. You are flung.
Yeah, man, I'll tell you what, that dang old internet, man. Click, 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 click. It's real easy, man.
I hope you guys are having a fabulous Monday. It is Monday, July 1st. Welcome to July. We are walking into July together today. And we have a doozy of a show for you today. This man on the screen is an absolute monster. I think he scares me probably the most. He scares me more than
Brian Koberger.
He scares me more than these hands, y'all. Look at Rue. She's like, what is on those hands? But this guy scares me more than those hands. This guy's name is Wade Wilson, and this is a Florida case. Too close for comfort, in my opinion. So we're going to walk through today. Hi, Sherry and Melissa B. It's good to see y'all. Shell, be careful driving to work today. And Jammers, thanks for being here to moderate. Appreciate you. But yeah, I didn't watch this trial. I did watch his sentencing, and that's what made me want to share this with you guys. If you didn't watch his trial. Well, I shouldn't say sentencing, because Nick's World corrected me. He is sentenced on July 23rd, but he was found guilty and death was recommended by the jury. And when the jury's verdict and their recommendation of sentencing was read, this guy is the most scariest dude. He looks like an AI sitting there. I swear. He moves like he has these strategic movements. He is very, very scary.
I am here to help you learn.
Shut up, Amica.
Hi, Robin. Welcome in. Hey, Bubba. How you doing, Bubba? Bubba, you look good with that lava lamp next to you, I must say. If you'd like to become a clicker, just ask one of the moderators how to do so, and you get access to our Discord and everything else. So let's run through just really quick what he did before we dive into this case. I'm highly disturbed, man. He's one creepy individual. So Wade Wilson committed this crime back in 2019. He was 25 years old at the time, and he was out at the bar. You'll see it scrolling on the screen here. He was out at a bar called Buddha Live, and this was on October 7th of 2019. In Fort Myers. So you'll see the Buddha bar pop up in just a second. Hi, Jill from Florida. Hi, Vestiges. Good to see you. You're going to see that bar pop up here in a second. Read the sign. It's creepy. It says like regrets. Like, I can't remember how all it says. Yes, Nick's World. He's very aware and very scary. And he doesn't care. I mean, he straight up called his dad and confessed. It's crazy. So there's the inside of the bar. That's Buddha Live. That's where he met Kristine Melton and her friend Stephanie Sailors. Music, games, booze, regrets. With a red Buddha. How creepy, huh? So, he was 25. He met Kristine, who was 35, and her friend Stephanie Sailors at this Buddha Live. After the bar closed, he and the two women went to the home of Jason Shepard, where they stayed for several hours before they left in the morning. At that time, they all went to Melton's home in Cape Coral. Sailors left, and after she left, Wade Wilson strangled Melton, which is the blonde right there, to death as she slept in her bed and stole her car. And if that wasn't bad enough, a short time later, he saw 43-year-old Diane Ruiz walking along a Cape Coral street, just walking along, minding her own biz. And he asked her for directions. And this is the brunette you see. That's Diane Ruiz, who was walking down the road, just minding her own. And this guy stops and asks her for directions. He was asking for directions to a nearby school. He lured her into the car. And when she tried to get out of the car, he attacked her. He beat her and strangled her before pushing her out of the car and running her over 10 to 20 times. You heard me. He thought she was dead, and she wasn't. So he got her out of the car, and he ran her over 10 to 20 times. I mean, this is just...
Your mom's right. Jeffrey Dahmer kind of.
Jammers, yeah, a mother and a wife. It's awful. 43-year-old woman just minding her own business. Hi, Island. Good to see you, and good to see you, Gypsy. Just minding her biz, right? So after the murders, Wade then called his biological dad, Stephen Testaseca. Can't make it up. Several times, confessing to and narrating some of the gruesome details of the crime. His dad contacted police, and Wade Wilson was arrested on October 8th, 2019. So what we're going to do now is we're going to watch a little bit of his dad's, oops, we don't want to see Koberger's hands. We're going to watch a little bit of his dad's testimony from court. This is his bio dad talking about what happened after the crime.
I went up and visited him one time in Tallahassee.
Okay. Now, did he often ask you for money?
Yes, ma'am.
Did your relationship turn into a situation where he was just asking for your help?
Yes, ma'am.
I want to turn your attention to Monday, October 7th of 2019. Did Wade Wilson get in touch with you through phone call that day?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was it that he told you when he called?
The first time he said he needed help. He had done something that he couldn't take back.
Hi, Texas.
Did he indicate that he and his girl had gotten into an argument?
Yes, ma'am.
And who was his girl that you were aware of at the time?
I just knew her as Mila.
And did it seem that he wanted your help because of this argument?
Yes, ma'am.
When he called you, were you actually at work?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you able to really give your attention and time to him to try to help him at that point?
No, ma'am.
So what did you tell him when he was asking for your help?
I just told him to call me back around dinner time. I'd be done working and we'd figure it out.
And did you at some point have a conversation with your wife about him getting in touch with you wanting your help?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, during the time that he was supposed to call, about what time was he supposed to call back?
I told him around dinner time.
Now, between the time he first called that day and dinner time, did you receive a call from a detective?
Yes, ma'am.
And was that detective looking for your son?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, when the detective was looking for your son, did you have any idea at that point of what had happened?
No, ma'am.
Did the detective want you to try to help them get in touch with your son?
She just gave me a number and said if he calls you back, we need to talk to him.
Okay. Now, did he end up calling you later that evening?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did he tell you in that call that evening?
This is disturbing.
The final call?
Nope, the call before the final call.
He just told me, he did something. There was 2 people gone that would not be back. He said, I'm a killer. I just told him to call me back. I just thought it was another story.
So at this point, when he says that there were 2 people that wouldn't be with us and that he was a killer, did you put a lot of weight into that?
No, ma'am.
Do you think he was just telling you a story?
He's a good storyteller.
So did he then call you back a 3rd time?
Yes, ma'am.
What time did he call you back?
It was around 10 o'clock.
I want to go back to that dinner time call.
Wow. I just want to stop for a second. Headstones and headlines. I did not know that. I mean, I knew this was his biological dad, but I did not know that his dad was so young when he was born. Oh, wow. I didn't know that history. Thank you so much, Headstones. Appreciate anything you could throw into the chat about this.
When he talked about these 2 people who were no longer with us and that he was a killer, did he show any type of remorse?
No, ma'am.
So let's go now to the 10 o'clock call. Again, your wife knew about kind of what was going on during that day.
Yes, ma'am.
And when he called back at 10, did he go into more details about what he had told you earlier?
Yes, ma'am.
So let's start with the first girl. If you could tell the jurors, what did he tell you?
He just said he met a girl at a bar. They went back to her house, hung out for a little bit, and then she fell asleep.
What did he say happened after she fell asleep?
He said he got on top of her and choked her.
What name did he call her? Did he refer to her in a derogatory term?
He said, I choked that bitch.
Okay. And what did he say he did after he choked her?
He said he stayed in the house for a little while, and then he rolled her up and was going to try to put her in her trunk, but he couldn't lift her.
Did he say why he was unable to put her in her trunk?
He said that he felt like rigor mortis had started to set in.
And does rigor mortis make your body stiff? You didn't know?
I think so.
Here's his face
So
before.
he just told you that that was the reason that he couldn't lift her and get her into her trunk?
Yes, ma'am.
And when he said her trunk, it was the trunk of her car he was going to put her in?
Yes, ma'am.
So what did he tell you he did when he couldn't get her body into her own trunk?
He left her there and took her car.
What did he say about the second girl?
He said he saw her walking down the street and stopped and asked her for directions. And she got in the car with him.
What did he say happened once she got in the car with him?
He said he reached over and choked her.
And did he tell you that he choked her while he was driving?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, what did he say happened after he choked her?
He said he was looking for a place to put her body.
Did he find a place where he eventually dumped her body?
Yes, ma'am.
What did he tell you about the situation when he got to the place where he was going to dump her body?
He said that he pulled her out of the car and realized that she was still breathing.
So what did he tell you he did when he
Horrific.
realized she's still breathing?
He said he got back in the car and ran her over until she looked like spaghetti.
As he's telling you all
He said he told his biological father that he ran her over until she looked like spaghetti. Oh my God, that's sick. This just keeps getting worse. What I'm reading in chat, you guys.
In the name of Jesus, Father God, Lord.
I did see the side of his head with the Nazi symbol because I was like, why did he want to wear makeup if he's got this swastika on the side of his head and he's got it shaved? He has a sister who is a doctor. I do not think it is his bio sister. She did CAT scans on his brain. Really? I have it right here. The one he did on the phone with that reporter. I do have that ready to play. Yeah. He added the tattoos on his face in jail. And then his lawyers were like, can he wear makeup? So was that with makeup on? Because you damn sure could see them. For those of you who watched this whole trial, I didn't. Yeah, he has several tattoos. What's not true? The spaghetti comment?
All these things. What's his demeanor as he's telling you?
He was excited.
You say excited, what do you mean by that?
I felt like he was wanting me to feel the way he felt about it.
Did he seem proud of it?
Thank you, headlines.
Yes.
Did he seem to show any kind of remorse?
No, ma'am.
And was he able to go into great detail about both of these ladies' deaths?
Yes, ma'am.
The second girl that he killed and left in the slot, did he think that she would be found?
No, ma'am.
He seemed to think he did a good job hiding her body.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, the whole time that he's telling you these details, is your wife hearing any of these details?
I had the phone on speakerphone.
Now, prior to him telling you these details, how did you feel about turning him in to law enforcement?
I initially wanted to help him.
Did you feel conflicted about giving?
That's kind of scary. He called and told him that he ran someone over until they were spaghetti. And he initially was going to help him?
Him over to law enforcement initially?
Yes, ma'am.
At some point when you're talking with him, did that feeling change?
Yes, ma'am.
Why?
I just thought, what if that was my mom or my daughter or sister or wife? I wouldn't want somebody to do that.
And did you have
think so,
additional
Holly.
concerns of what might happen if you didn't turn him into law enforcement?
Yes, ma'am.
What was that, sir?
He would have done it again.
Now, after he's telling you all these details, do you know where he's at when he's telling you these things?
I just knew he was in a house that he broke into when he was running from the police.
Did you know the actual address of this house he broke into?
No, ma'am.
Now, when you were talking to him and you decided that you needed to give the information to law enforcement about his whereabouts, how did you get that address from him?
I told him I was going to send him an Uber, and I needed the address of where he was.
Were you actually going to send him an Uber?
No, ma'am.
And so when you told him that you were going to send him an Uber, did he give you that address?
Yes, ma'am.
What did you then do with the address he gave you?
My wife was messaging with the officer.
Now, is your wife messaging with the officer during the course of these details that he's telling you?
The last part of them.
And so she's relaying what your son's telling you to law enforcement?
Yes, ma'am.
Giving them further details?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, again, this conversation you're having with your son is on October 7th, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
It's in the evening hours?
Yes, ma'am.
And was it your understanding that him going to the bar and meeting the first woman happened the night before?
Yes, ma'am.
So at this point, when he's giving you all this information and you're giving this information to law enforcement, had the second girl's body been found?
No, ma'am.
And did it strike that? Now, that address you said your wife then gave to law enforcement.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you remain on the phone with your son?
Yes, ma'am.
And were you on the phone with him when law enforcement showed up at that house?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you encourage him to go outside and turn himself in?
I did. I didn't want to do anything stupid and end up getting killed. So I just told him to put his hands up and just go outside.
I have nothing further and tender this witness.
Okay, so that was just the clip I wanted to play of his dad, but I did find his record here for Lee County. Let's take a look at that really quick before we get into these other videos that I have. And thank you for all the people that watched the trial that are giving us that added information. Appreciate it. All right, so let's pull up these court records. So he's Stephen Wilson. What I see here is attempted trafficking and amphetamine or methamphetamine, 28 grams to 200 grams. Here, let me make this bigger so you guys can see. So this dad was probably used to him being all over the place. I don't know, Goose Knuckle. Ask me in about 10 minutes. There might be a couple more times you can add to the list. Yeah. This was in May of 2023. And then a second charge of conspiracy to traffic amphetamine or methamphetamine. Other than that, I don't see Wade S. I see Wade Lee, or here's Wade Stephen. He escaped. That's 2020. So 2023 is the newest, the drug charges. And then in 2020, he escaped. Prisoner escape or attempted escape. And then he has, for this, 11/19/2019, first-degree murder, grand theft of motor vehicle, battery, first-degree murder, burglary of a dwelling, and first-degree petty theft. And then here he is again, 2019, 10/9, domestic violence, battery. This guy's a piece of shit. And if I'm going to sensationalize, I'm going to sensationalize the shit out of this guy. That's why he put that shit on his face. He wants to be sensationalized.
Fuck directly off.
Then we have Wade Stephen on 10/9 of 2019, burglary of a dwelling, first degree, petty theft, criminal mischief. Here's another one, Wade Stephen, battery, touch or strike, domestic violence, 7/2 of 2019. That's not him. That's Murray. So he's a woman beater. He's a meth user. He's a piece of shit. Oh, well, this is all just Lee County. So we have domestic violence, a couple of those, burglary, among all the other shit. Right. Somebody get that boy a magic 8-ball because his brain done broke. Imagine if they didn't catch him. I mean, this guy is obviously very dangerous. So the first thing we're going to watch is his first appearance. And you'll see what he looked like during that first appearance. Welcome to Monday Live. Today's live, if you're just joining, we are going over Wade Wilson, what I call the Florida monster, because that's what I think he is. That's what I think he is a true monster. All right, so here we go. This is only a minute long, but you'll get to see his demeanor and kind of the other inmates looking.
Wade Wilson, 19 CF 568. Mr. Mr. Wilson, you're charged with first-degree murder, grand theft auto, battery, a second first-degree murder, burglary of a dwelling, occupied, and petty theft. State want to be heard?
Briefly, Judge. Andreas Gardner on behalf of the state. The state respectfully requesting Mr. Wilson be held no bond.
Defense?
Your Honor, Charles and Answer Public Defender's Office. I believe Judge Branning took testimony and signed the habeas and no bond. Any other bond motions will be conducted with the trial judge.
Very good.
Look at that girl.
Counsel will
She's
be held
like...
without bond. Your court date is November 25th, 2019 at 8:30 a.m. in courtroom 4A. If somehow you get out of jail, you will have no contact direct. Is that somebody? All right. You will have no contact directly or indirectly with Melissa Lynn Montez and stay away from 2039 West Street in Fort Myers, Florida. Do you understand that, sir?
Sure.
That's all for today.
He said, sure.
All right.
This is like the opposite of Brian Koberger, right? Like the polar opposite. All right, the next video we're going to roll right into. And thank you for being here, guys. If you haven't hit the like button, now is a good time while we're switching videos. We are live in Studio J here on this Monday, July 1st. Monday, July 1st. Can you believe it? What are you guys doing for the 4th? Do you have any plans for the 4th? Let me know in the chat. Okay, so this is after he was put in jail and arrested. He was a person of interest. This is 4 years ago this happened, and this is on Fox 4 now. Fox 4 interviewed the man who is a person of interest in the case of 2 murdered women in Cape Coral. Wade Wilson gives his accounts for the night of the murders. This is Wade Wilson's account 4 years ago, directly after his arrest, speaking with a Fox reporter.
Telephone call may be monitored or recorded. If you are an attorney and hearing this message, please hang up and call the Correction Services Division at 239-258-3626. Thank you for using GTL.
Hello.
Hey, is this Wade?
Hey, this is Wade. How's it
Hi.
going?
This is Rochelle with Fox 4. How are you doing?
Good. I'm doing good, Rochelle. How are you?
I'm good. Wade, really quickly, I just wanted to confirm, are you okay that we are recording and going to broadcast this interview? Are you okay with that?
I'm okay with that. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Can you confirm, just to make sure it's you, can you just confirm your date of birth, day, month, and year?
Yes, my date of birth is May 20th, 1994.
Okay. And you're currently in the Lee County Jail?
I am. Yes, ma'am.
All right. Wade, I mean, I hate to get to the heavy stuff right off the bat, but this is a question a lot of people at home have been asking us. They want to know the answer to, so I just want to ask you right off the bat. People want to know, are you guilty of those murders? Did you commit those murders concerning Kristine Melton and Diane Ruiz?
No, ma'am. I did not commit these murders, and I'm innocent. I did not. No, ma'am.
So take us through, can you take me through October 6th through the 8th? From the start of October 6th to the day of your arrest.
So let me kind of start to tell you, can I go ahead and just speak a little bit? Is that okay?
Yeah, no, go for it. Tell me.
Okay, so, the night of October 6th, the 6th, on the 6th, October 6th, so we went to, me and Mila, we went to a bar called Buddha, right? And we went to the Buddha, and we were there for a little while, maybe 2 or 3 hours we had been there. And to let everybody know, I did leave the Buddha with Kristen, okay? I left with Kristen, and it was me, it was Kristen, it was one of her friends, Kristen's friends, who I don't know the name of. I'm not sure what her name is. And also another individual, which was a guy that was at the Buddha as well. He was there. He came with us. So we all left. Me and Mila have a 2016 Dodge Hellcat, and we all left in the Hellcat, and we went to.
He had a Hellcat? Oh, drug dealer for sure. Where did he get money for a Hellcat?
And the guy that I'm telling you about, I don't know his name. I'm not sure who he was. I'm not sure what his name is. He was an individual that we all met at the Buddha, and but we went to his house first, and he lives off McGregor, and we went to his house, and we partied a little bit at his house, and me and Kristen were intimate, and Kristen's friend and the man that I'm speaking of, they were kind of just like in the other room talking amongst themselves with each other, while me and Kristen, like I said, we were intimate together. And then, you know, we were there at his house for a little while, like I said, and then we went to leave his house, so now it was just me, Kristen, and her friend, and we were going to leave his house, and we were going to leave, like I said, in the Hellcat.
He can't drive a stick.
It just so happened that the Hellcat was actually out of gas. We ran out of gas. So we pulled out of his driveway, and we went down the road a little bit, but we didn't even make it off his road. We were still on his street. The Hellcat broke down. We pulled it over into the side of the grass. And then Kristen called for an Uber ride for all of us. And so she called for the Uber, and we went from there, from the Hellcat in the Uber to Kristen's house. Me, her, and her friend, Kristen's friend. And we got to the house, and we were all there just hanging out. And then Kristen's friend actually left the house. She said that she had work or whatnot the following day, and she had to go. So she eventually left. She called. I think her car was there, and she drove away in her vehicle. And again, me and Kristen were continuing to be intimate together. And this went on for, I don't know, me and her together maybe an hour. And, you know, now it's maybe, I don't know, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, somewhere around then. And, you know, like I said, I mentioned to you earlier that my vehicle was out of gas. So now my vehicle is all the way in McGregor on a street, you know, of the guy, the house that we went to with the man. So I have to get my car, you know. And anyways, so I asked Kristen if it's okay for me to bring her phone and her car, because I wanted to first of all, get my car out of there, because it's an expensive car. I'm not familiar with that road. I don't want my car there. I don't want it on the side of the road. I don't want it to get towed. So I was trying to figure something out with that. So she let me use her vehicle, and I told her that I would be back. I would come back, and that was okay with her. And so I left, and I wasn't exactly sure where off McGregor my car was. Like, I didn't know the name of the road or anything like that. So I called Mila, and I was going to meet with Mila and have her help me, because she's actually from Fort Myers. I'm not from here. Have her help me find the vehicle. And so I went to Mila's. We have a place called Mila Spa. It's right in front of Joe's Crab Shack, downtown Fort Myers. And so I went there to meet her. I don't really want to get into specifics about anything that happened or did not happen, you know, with me and Mila. Just, you know, obviously I left. I got there, left Mila, and I left the area. So that's the beginning half of the story that I wanted to tell you. Did you get all of that?
I did. So I just want to confirm with you, the last time you saw Kristine Melton, she was alive.
Correct, she was, yes ma'am. And this was around, like I said, when I left her house, this was around either 5 or 6, one of the two. I'm not entirely sure, but it was early morning, definitely.
Okay. What happened next?
Sure. You said what?
Sure.
So I know you said you didn't want to talk about it, but I just have to ask. Mila said that when you met up with her in Kristine's car, that there was a physical altercation, that you beat her. Are you going to tell us any more about that? Can you confirm that? Are you going to admit to that?
I don't want to talk about that at the moment. Yeah, I don't want to talk about that. I can tell you this much. I didn't beat her. I can tell you that. So, this is something. Let me go into a little further detail with that situation. I mean, like I said, I don't really wish to speak on that entirely right now. Maybe when you and I have a visit and we sit down in front of each other, that would be something that I could talk further with. But I do want to include, and whether or not you decide to use this is up to you.
Okay.
Maybe 4 or 5 months ago, Mila, she pressed charges against me, saying the same thing that I guess she's saying now. And just to let you know, actually 4 or 5 months ago, she went to the state attorney's office and she filed to dismiss the charges because they were untrue. And so she actually had it thrown out. So this is not, just to let you know, this is not the first time that she's decided that she's wanted to do something of this nature.
Okay.
It's not the first time.
So after you left with, you saw Mila, after you left, what happens next, Wade?
Okay, so after leaving Mila, I called Mila, and asked her, what was going on, and she actually told me she was like, to put it simply, she told me more that she was unhappy with me. First of all, because of the previous night, she was unhappy with me for leaving with another woman. She didn't like that at all, and so I could kind of tell by her voice and the way that she was talking that it wasn't sounding good. And like I told you, what she had done to me 4 or 5 months ago, this is not uncommon. This is something that she tends to do. So it was not sounding good. So anyways, long story short.
Long story short, my ass.
I don't know where my car is. It's somewhere off McGregor. I can't find it. I don't know where this guy's house is. I can't find his house. I can't find the car. Any of these things. So, but I'm still trying to. So now I'm kind of in a frenzy because of Mila, how she's talking, what she's sounding like she's gonna do. Everything is not sounding good with her. And so I don't wish to be around her. I don't want to be anywhere near her when she's acting this way. So just, I'm really just trying to find the car now at this point.
So was he just all worked up with anger from his altercation with the ex-girlfriend? Is that what made him rage, or was it like meth or some kind of drug that made him rage?
Anyways, so and the other problem, there was another issue as well, Rochelle. The other issue was that Kristen, here's the problem, I'm not from here. I couldn't remember exactly where she lived. And this was like another big issue for me because I was trying to get back to her house, but not knowing where she lived wouldn't permit me to do so. So that wasn't working out very well for me either. And the bad thing about it was I had her phone, and so there was no way for me to call her, which would not have mattered anyways because I didn't know her phone number. So that wouldn't have mattered anyways. But listen, Rochelle, I don't know how much more in detail I can go, but I would like to do a visit to talk to you face to face.
Yeah,
so I want to give you the first half of the story. Obviously, there's another half to it,
right?
Which I don't mind giving you as well. I would like to.
Yeah, I guess just one question before we continue though is,
you notice how he keeps calling the reporter Rochelle by her first name? He thinks he's so slick. I think what we're witnessing is a true psychopath. He stated he was the lion and they were the prey. It excited him. His dad even said he sounded excited.
Psychopathy.
Why did you have Kristine's phone?
Hold on, Marcel. You're breaking up just a little bit. I can't hear you too well.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am, I can.
Yeah. Why did you have Kristine's phone with you when you left to go find your car?
The reason that I had her phone was because, first of all, she said I could take it. That was the first thing. She didn't mind. I could take her car. I could take her phone because I needed to call.
Oh my God.
Mila, because Mila.
So he's saying that the woman that he strangled out in her own bed said, "You can take my car and you can take my phone. Take it all."
Mila wasn't. It's the spa that we meet up at, and she was not there, obviously. And so I had to be able to call her to talk to her, ask her where she was. Can we meet up at the spa? And I don't have my own phone. I don't actually have a phone. So that was the reason behind that.
Gotcha. Did you know Kristine before that night, or did you guys just meet at the Buddha?
No, we just met at the Buddha. That was the first time that we had met. I didn't know her.
Yeah, sounds really believable. You just met this chick and she's like, "Yeah, take my phone, take my car. I don't give a shit. Go ahead." Hey, Lacey, good to see ya.
Before that.
Okay, so you have her phone, you have her car, you don't remember where she lives. What happens next? What do you do next?
What I do next was drive around and try to find her house. That's what I did. And it took a little while.
Why did you have Kristine's phone with you when you left to go find your car?
The reason that I had her phone was because, first of all,
she said I could take it. That was the first thing. She didn't mind. I could take her car. I could take her phone. Because I needed to call Mila, because Mila wasn't. It's the spa that we meet up at, and she was not there, obviously. And so I had to be able to call her to talk to her after where she was. Can we meet up at the spa? And I don't have my own phone. I don't actually have a phone. So that was the reason behind that.
Gotcha. Did you know Kristine before that night, or did you guys just meet at the Buddha?
No, we just met at the Buddha. That was the first time that we had met. I didn't know her previously before then.
Okay. So you have her phone, you have her car, you don't remember where she lives. What happens next? What do you do next?
What I do next was drive around and try to find her house. That's what I did. And it took a little while. Actually, it took a couple hours. I don't know. Just trying to find the road, trying to find her house. I know what her house looks like. I remember, but I can't find the road. And so yes, that's really all. Rochelle, that's all I want to tell you about for now. If that's okay.
So I just want to confirm something at the end there.
Sure.
So you were able to find her house. Did you just return the car and leave the phone inside and walk away? Like, how did that work out?
I was unable to find her house. I was not able to find it.
So what did you do with the car and her phone?
Well, I drove to, like I said, I'm not from here, so I'm unfamiliar with the territory. But I drove to a friend of mine's business, which I'm sure everyone knows about. I mean, you guys have been reporting it. Everyone's been talking about it, so it's nothing new. I mean, you already know. I went to his business and I sat there with the vehicle, and didn't really know what else to do. First of all, because Mila is the only other girl. She's the only person that I have in Fort Myers. She's mad at me. She's upset. So that was not an option. So I used to work. I was employed by Mateo Graphics, and so I went over there because I knew.
It says Potato Graphics. I don't think that's the name of it, but it says Potato Graphics. He is a freaking potato.
How to actually get there.
Okay.
And that's where I believe the police, I guess, had found the vehicle.
So based on the police reports we're getting, that you were found shirtless and covered in blood inside of that home. Is that true?
Sure. That is actually not true. No, it's not. And actually, when I was found inside of that home, I was completely dressed. I had a shirt on. I wasn't bloody. I wasn't anything. Here's the second half of the story that everybody's wanting to know. And obviously you're saying, did I have anything to do with these two murders? Are they tragic? Yes, they are. Did I have anything to do with them? No, it's not. And is it tragic that I'm sitting in jail and people honestly think that I'm a monster? Yes, it is. That's wrong. But so the second half of the story is I was driving around looking for Kristen's house. Okay. And so I'm driving around at this point in time around Cape Coral. And yes, I did run into Diane. And yes, I did meet her, and yes, I did see her, but I didn't have anything to do with her death.
So he admits to meeting Diane Ruiz. And Goose Knuckle, see your way to another stream. It's that simple. How rude to come in and try to side show me.
C'est la vie, adios, fuck off and die.
The only thing that had happened was I asked her for directions, trying to kind of get a general view of where I was at, because now at this point I'm in Cape Coral looking for Kristen's house. I can't find her house. I know what it looks like. I vaguely know what the streets around it look like and the houses around it look like, but I don't know how to get there. But now I have another issue. Mila is not answering the phone. She's mad at me. She's upset. She doesn't want to answer the phone. So I'm kind of stuck a little bit in Cape Coral. And can't. I could find my way back, but it was a problem. I was having trouble with directions, to say the least. And Diane, I asked her for directions. And is there anything you want to ask me, or do you want me to keep going?
Yeah, actually, I wanted to just follow up on that. So describe that encounter. Was she just walking down the side of the street? What time was it? How did that work?
What time it was? It was early morning. I mean, I can't give you an exact time. I really can't.
Yeah.
7 or 8 maybe in the morning.
And this is Monday morning?
And yes, correct. Yes.
Okay.
Of the 7th, correct?
Yes.
Yes, correct. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. In the morning. Yes.
So you're driving. It's early in the morning. You don't know where you're going. Then what happens next?
Okay. What happens next is I asked her for directions, and she was trying to help me figure out where I was. First of all, asked her how to get back to Fort Myers, and just where I'm at. She helped me out with the directions, and then she actually asked me for a ride. She was going to work, I believe, and she had asked me for a ride. So I gave her a ride. And
Unbelievable.
I mean, it wasn't even far. And then I gave her a 5-minute drive. And
5-minute drive. That tells me he had her deceased within 5 minutes. And he told his dad he did it while he was driving. Dude can't drive a stick, but he can strangle someone to death while he's driving. Make it make sense.
I dropped her off, and I believe that it was at a bus stop, so I believe that she was getting on the bus, and that was it with her.
And do you remember what was around you? Do you kind of have an idea of like where you dropped her off, where that bus stop was?
Was that where?
Do you have an idea of where that bus stop was, where you dropped her off?
No. Like I said, I'm not familiar with the area. No, ma'am.
Okay. So you dropped her off, and again, the last time you saw Diane Ruiz, she was alive as well?
Yes, she was alive. Yes, correct. Yes, ma'am.
So after that happens, where do you go next? After you drop Diane off, what happens next?
Okay. What happens after that is then what happens next is she gave me directions on how to get back to Fort Myers, and that was enough for me to. I couldn't find Kristine's house, so I kind of gave up on that. My second thought was that I would go and try to meet back up with Mila and figure out what to do next. You know, first of all, we have to get our car. Second of all, I have to return this car to Kristine, and so these are the things that I have to do. So I go back to Fort Myers, and I think I believe that I went back to Mateo Graphics, and
Mateo
across the bridge in Fort Myers, like I said, where I used to be employed, and I parked the vehicle there. I went inside Mateo Graphics, called Mila. But did not go back to meet up with her again. And then, let's see. And then, leaving the car there, I left the business and walked on foot, and that was it. The rest, there's really not much to the story after that.
So I just
you know, they said that they found me, and I guess I had blood on me.
Yes.
The first thing is, to be honest with you, this is not true. If there was any blood on me, it was from myself because I do personal training, and my hands, I had been doing push-ups on the ground on asphalt, which was not smart of me, but I did, and I had.
So in the midst of all of this, what an idiot! In the midst of all of this, trying to get a hold of Mila, dropping this lady off for the bus, yada yada yada, he's doing push-ups on the asphalt. I know he did, Rachel. Welcome in, Rachel. Good to see you. Okay, dude. It was his own blood. Covered in blood from his hands on the asphalt.
Two, like, you know, quarter-sized scars, open wounds on my hand that had reopened. And, you know, they constantly are reopening. They're on the palm of my hand. And there was a little bit of blood on my pants, I believe, from that. And like I said, this is no wonder that the police, even with everything they have now, like my clothes and whatnot, my pants, you know, the FTLE testing that they say that they're running, it's not a surprise that I haven't been charged with anything. I know this because the blood that's on my pants is from my hand. You know, so if they're saying that there's any blood, it's from myself.
So wait, I have to ask you, we spoke to Mila, and she's claiming that when you confess, she's claiming that you confessed to her, and she says that when you confessed that you told her you were under the influence of drugs. Is there any truth to that at all?
No, there's not truth to that. And
I'm sure.
You know, like, what people do in their personal lives is what they decide to do. You know, I don't think that it's fair for other people to get into other people.
Oh, so it's not fair for anyone to ask if he was under the influence of drugs.
Personal business. And, you know, if you drink alcohol, I'm not going to ask you if you do. You know, that's your own business. You're a grown woman. You're a grown individual. Mila doesn't know me very well. Like, she doesn't know me enough to say these things.
I have two follow-ups for you. One, did you in fact confess to her? Because that's what she's telling us. Did you confess to these murders to Mila?
Is that what she's saying?
Yes.
Yeah, I've heard that as well. No, I didn't confess that. And, you know, a confession, also, let me just inform you, I'm innocent of these charges, if there is any charges that will be present. I haven't been charged with anything, and that's all that I can tell you about that.
So let me ask you this then. So it appears that you were the last person to see these two women alive, or one of the last people to see these two women alive. Does that scare you? You're saying you didn't do it, but does it concern you that you're one of the last people to see them alive, and nobody knows what happened to them at this point?
Sure. No, I understand that. You know, but that's not my fault. That's not my concern. That doesn't have anything to do with me. I can't give you any answer about that. Just because I'm the last person to see them, you know, obviously, like I said, I've told you my side of the story, and that's all there is to it.
So I just wanted to ask you, do you have any theories as to what may have happened to these two women?
Well, to be honest with you, man, since I've been in here, I talk to a lot of people. I have friends and family that still support me, and I've heard that a third woman was found in Cape Coral, and this was big on the news, and so it doesn't surprise me that it sounds as though somebody is going around doing these terrific things, and you know, like I said, even since I've been incarcerated now in the Lee County Jail, a third woman's been found in Cape Coral.
We're still working on that. I don't know that I remember any other women being found, but
I see you, holistic.
That's what I've heard. So maybe I'm incorrect on this. I'm not entirely sure, but just what I've heard. It's hard for me to hear. It's hard for me to get clear news, being that actually in Lee County Jail I'm housed in segregation. I don't get to see the news or anything like that. I just get to hear things from family members and other people.
So just to confirm, you haven't confessed to Mila and you haven't confessed to anyone to these murders?
No, but are they saying that I didn't?
We're hearing that you may have confirmed to multiple people. That's why I was asking you.
Right. And I've heard the same thing. But it doesn't, there's things that you hear you can't believe. You know, that doesn't mean that they're true. So,
something else that people were talking about at your latest court appearance, people were talking about your shaved head and that you had what looks like a swastika on your head. Do you want to talk about that? Because people are making judgments based on that as well.
The question that you asked me, I don't wish to speak on that.
Okay.
I don't think it's not relevant to the situation in any way, shape, or form. I don't think it's something that needs to be brought up.
Okay, that's fair. I just wanted to ask. Viewers at home were asking, so I wanted to ask you for your side. So really quickly, Wade, I want to jump back in. I know that you said you met Kristine just that night at the Buddha Room, and obviously you guys spent the night together and a part of the morning together. Was there any conversation? Did she tell you that, you know, her plans for that day, the next day? Was she going to go anywhere, meet anybody? We're just trying to understand, you know, what happened to her.
Did she tell me any of her plans?
Yeah, we're trying to find out what happened to her. So anything you can tell us will help.
Well, here's what I was concerned about, and here's something that the police have not even, I'm not sure they've investigated into it or not. She didn't tell me what she was going to do the next day. Like, she didn't tell me her plans. Honestly, like, okay, here we go. She didn't tell me, you know what I mean, what she was going to do. But here's what I tried to convey to the police, and I don't know if they've looked into it. They didn't even, remember when I told you that we left the Buddha with her friend and another man, you know? And he,
trying to pin it on him.
The guy that lived on McGregor, off McGregor. And so what I told the police, because they did ask me, they said, the night that we left his house and went and got an Uber ride to her house, he was going to take us in my car, and he was going to drive us to Kristen's house. So Kristen told him her address, and he knew where she lived. Now, the other thing about it is, the reason that we left his house was actually because he was kind of, like, weird. He was really strange. Like, the longer we stayed there, me, Kristen, and Kristen's friend, none of us wanted to be there. We were all kind of like, this guy's weird, he's real strange, he's a little off. And so none of us wanted to be at his house anymore, which is the reason we wanted to leave. Now, you know, the problem was, with leaving in my car, you know, me and Mila have this car, the Hellcat, and I can't drive a stick shift. Usually I let Mila drive, she drives, and I sit in the passenger seat. And so this guy, the way that we got to his house was because he drove, he could drive a stick shift. So there was another problem of leaving his house was, I'm about to run out of gas, I can't drive a stick shift. And so we told him her address, and he was going to drive us to her house. But for whatever reason, when we were about to leave, he decided that he didn't want to come anymore, and he didn't. And so this is another individual that I've tried when the police investigated me, and I told them about him. I don't know his name. I don't know who he is. I know vaguely where he lives. Maybe I could find it. And I've told them that. And whether or not they've looked into this further, I'm not sure.
And that gentleman was Kristine's friend, correct?
Yes. No. He was somebody that we had met that night at the Buddha.
Gotcha.
So I don't think that he was Kristen's friend. But if he was, I'm not really sure. Because when I met all of them, they were already conveying, you know, together. They were already together. So he may or may not be her friend. I don't want to tell you something that I don't know. But as far as I could tell, he was just somebody that they met that night.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
As far as Diane is concerned, I know you guys spoke about directions, and she gave you directions back to Fort Myers. When you gave her a ride, did she talk about anything else with you?
No, she didn't really talk about much. She just talked about work, and I don't even remember like what she said she did for work. Like I can't remember that. But she talked vaguely about like going to work, and that was it. The ride that we had together was short, like 4 or 5 minutes, maybe at most, and that was it. So we didn't really talk a whole lot. You know, it was real short ride, and dropped her off. And I thought that she wanted me to drive her all the way to work. You know, that's the assumption that I was under. And, you know, but then she said she just wanted to be dropped off at the bus. So that was what I did.
And at this point, you told me you don't have a lawyer or you have a public defender, but you're seeking outside counsel. Is that correct?
Yes, I am seeking outside counsel. I have had people outside of the public defender's office contact me, and there is certain people that are considering taking my case on.
So obviously, you know, Wade, this interview was to get your side of things. Is there anything else that people at home should know from your point of view?
Yes, from my point of view, I would say to the people at home, do not listen to
Barbie has just donated $10.
all the time.
Thank you for all you do,
Not to, you know, convey you guys, not to say anything about you guys, but don't always listen to what the media says. Don't always listen to false reports. A man is guilty until proved innocent, and he is not guilty until proved innocent. And the thing about it is that I don't, you know,
He's not
I'm
guilty
just a man
until
sitting in
proved
jail,
innocent.
You know, and I'm being slandered. I'm being talked down to. I'm being put on a very bad place. I'm being put in a very bad place, and it's not fair to me. I have a family. I have 2 children. And you know, I'm a God-fearing man.
He has 2 children. He is a freaking talker, isn't he, Paul? Paul, you're going to have to give me an update on what happened on that Zoom.
And I just wanted to get my story out there and to clarify everything that's going on. And I just hope that people, you know, take all this into consideration and look at me in a different light. And that people, you know, hopefully they just can support me and be here for me. Thank you so much.
Alrighty, bye-bye.
Oh my gosh. She asked some really good questions, though. Oh, 2 kids. Yikes. Yikes. Well, you know, I did not follow this case as it happened. You know, there's only one of me. I could only follow so many cases at once. But this sentencing, my husband watched, and I watched it along, and I was like, this dude is a complete psychopath. Complete psychopath. It's the scare, not sentencing, but when the jury came back with their decision. He is the creepiest. And I go a lot off of vibes that I get, and he gives me the worst vibes. Like he's bad news, man. It really, really stuck with me. And I'm like, I need to share this because you know what? Watching these people, you learn from every case. Even if you don't watch every trial, you still can learn from every case. We don't have to deep dive everything. We don't have to cover it for weeks and weeks. And that's okay. We can't do that with every single case. But we do try to learn from those cases that we can't watch all of them. So I wanted to go over some deets that I found before we watch when the jury comes back. Just his reaction or lack of is really disturbing and scary. But he was adopted. His father testified. We watched a little bit of that. You can watch all of it on Law and Crime if you want to go deeper. But it says that homicide victim Diane Ruiz, and I like to recognize the victims here, these innocent women. Diane Ruiz was a loving mom, hardworking, and Kristine Melton was a best friend to Minnie and a cat mom. So there's a cat. Thank you, James Vaughn. I appreciate you being here. Florida's prisons are filled with tattooed inmates, and death row's Wade Wilson would be another face in the crowd. It would put him on death row at Union Correctional Institution, rather, near Jacksonville. All right, so now let's move on to when the jury comes back and says, you know, we find him guilty on all these charges, and they recommend the death penalty. But watching him it scares the shit out of me. So here we go. Bad vibes entering. Light your sage, light your joints, whatever it is. Here we go.
All right, verdict form appears to be in order. We'll let the clerk publish the verdict.
Oh, he's like AI. Watch his eyes.
Court of the 20th Judicial Circuit in Forley County, Florida. Criminal action. State of Florida versus Wade Wilson. Case number 19 CF 568. Jury verdict form. Penalty phase. We, the jury, finds as follows as to the defendant, Wade Wilson, in this case. As to count 1, first-degree murder, Kristine Melton. We, the jury, unanimously find that the state has established beyond a reasonable doubt that Wade Wilson was previously convicted of a felony and under sentence of imprisonment or placed on community control or on felony probation. Yes. We, the jury, find unanimously that the state has established beyond a reasonable doubt that Wade Wilson was previously convicted of another capital felony or of a felony involving the use of threat of violence to the person. Yes. We, the jury, unanimously find that the state has established beyond a reasonable doubt that the first-degree murder was especially heinous, atrocious, or cruel. Yes. We, the jury, unanimously find that the state has established beyond a reasonable doubt that the first-degree murder was committed in a cold, calculated, and premeditated manner without any pretense of moral or legal justification. No. If you, the jury, answered no to every aggravating factor listed, you have completed your deliberations. If you, the jury, answered yes to any aggravating factor listed, proceed to Section B. If fewer than 8 jurors vote for the death penalty, your recommendation must be for a penalty of life in prison without the possibility of parole. If 8 or more jurors vote for the death penalty, your recommendation must be for the death penalty.
Mm-hmm.
We, the jury, unanimously found the state proved 1 or more aggravating factors. Each of us has considered whether 1 or more mitigating circumstances exist. Each of us has weighed whether the proven aggravating factors are sufficient and whether the proven aggravating factors outweigh any proven mitigating circumstances. We have further considered whether Wade Wilson should be sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole or death. We, the jury, find by a vote of 9-3 that Wade Wilson should be sentenced to death. As to count 4, first-degree murder, Diane Ruiz. We, the jury, unanimously find that the state has established beyond a reasonable doubt the existence of aggravating factors. We, the jury, unanimously find that the state has established beyond a reasonable doubt that Wade Wilson was previously convicted of a felony and under sentence of imprisonment or placed on community control or on felony probation. Yes. We, the jury, unanimously find that the state has...
It doesn't just look like he's smirking. He is smirking. The clerk can't pronounce mitigating. Or is he that intimidating? Look at that head. And you know he wants everyone to be creeped out by it. That's why he shaves the shit. He's not just looks like he's smirking. He is. Look at the corners of his mouth. I'd be nervous in front of him too. Look at him. Wait till they talk to the jury and he stares them down one by one.
On felony probation. Yes. We, the jury, unanimously find that the state has established beyond a reasonable doubt that Wade Wilson was previously convicted of another capital felony or of a felony involving the use of threat of violence to the person? Yes. We, the jury, unanimously find that the state has established beyond a reasonable doubt that the first-degree murder was especially heinous, atrocious, or cruel. Yes. We, the jury, unanimously find
He
that
like
the state
jerks
has
back into his
established beyond a
movements. Watch.
reasonable doubt that the first-degree murder was committed
There
in
he
a
goes.
cold, calculated, and premeditated manner
Murder.
without any pretense of moral or legal justification. Yes. If fewer than 8 jurors vote for the death penalty, your recommendation must be for a penalty of life in prison without the possibility of parole. If 8 or more jurors vote for the death penalty, your recommendation must.
Look at this idiot. I never even noticed the little itty bitty hair on his chin. Like a little freaking teenager with a little stray hairs.
Be for the death penalty. We, the jury, unanimously found the state proved one or more aggravating factors. Each of us has considered whether one or more mitigating circumstances exist. Each of us has weighed whether the proven aggravating factors are sufficient and whether the proven aggravating factors outweigh any proven mitigating circumstances.
She said it again.
We have further considered whether Wade Wilson should be sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole or death. We, the jury, find by a vote of 10-2 that Wade Wilson should be sentenced to death. Dated this 25th day of June, 2024, in Lee County, Florida, 4-person, 234.
Does anybody want the jurors to be polled?
Hi, Jane.
Okay. Members of the jury, we're going to ask each of you about the jury's decisions that you have just heard. And I'm going to go juror by number. So do you, juror 97, agree that the decisions as read by the clerk accurately reflect what the jury decided?
Look at him.
Juror 97. Okay. Do you
do what now?
Agree that the decisions read by the clerk accurately reflect what the jury decided? Yes. Juror 234. Do you agree that decisions as read by the clerk accurately reflect what the jury decided? Yes, Your Honor. Juror number 3.
He's huge, Lacey.
Do you agree that the decisions as read by the clerk accurately reflect what the jury decided? Juror 205. Do you agree that the decisions as read by the clerk accurately reflect what the jury decided? Yes. Juror 101. Do you agree that the decisions as read by the clerk accurately reflect what the jury decided? Yes. Juror 215. Do you agree that the decisions as read by the clerk accurately reflect what the jury decided? Yes, Your Honor. Juror 87. Do you agree that the decisions as read by the clerk accurately reflect what the jury decided? Yes. Juror 362. Do you agree that the decisions as read by the clerk accurately reflect what the jury decided?
He's an ogre.
Juror 136. Do you agree that the decisions as read by the clerk accurately reflect what the jury decided? Yes, sir. Juror 193. Do you agree that the decisions as read by the clerk...
He even is looking them up and down. It's so creepy.
...accurately reflect what the jury decided?
Yes, sir.
Juror 315. Do you agree that the decisions as read by the clerk accurately reflect what the jury decided? Yes. Juror 309. Do you agree that the decisions as read by the clerk accurately reflect what the jury decided? Yes, Your Honor. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish to thank you for your time and consideration of this case. I also wish to advise you of some very special privileges enjoyed by jurors. No juror can ever be required to talk about the discussions that occurred in the jury room except by court order. For many centuries, our society has relied upon juries for consideration of difficult cases. We've recognized for hundreds of years that a jury's deliberations, discussions, and votes should remain their private affair as long as they wish it. Therefore, the law gives you a unique privilege not to speak about the jury's work. Although you are at liberty to speak with anyone about your deliberations, you are also at liberty to refuse to speak to anyone. A request to discuss either your verdict or your deliberations may come from those who are simply curious, from those who might seek to find fault with you, from the media, from the attorneys, or elsewhere. It will be up to you to decide whether to preserve your privacy as a juror. With that, we thank you again for your service. Gather your belongings, make sure you don't leave anything in the jury room, and the bailiff will escort you out. You are discharged.
All right.
Look how big he is.
Bing bang.
And that old man was his lawyer? Dear God.
Woo-wee, that will scare somebody.
Look at, and he's just loose.
All right, please be seated. All right. What says the state in regards to sentencing? I know we have to have a Spencer hearing.
He doesn't give a fuck.
For a Spencer hearing, we also need to have a pre-sentence investigation.
Okay.
On
All right.
So we're thinking 45 days out.
Are the parties available on July 22nd?
July 22nd?
Yes, sir.
No, sir.
Okay.
I'll be
No,
flying
sir.
back from Wisconsin.
Okay. How about July 29th?
I'm supposed to start a second-degree murder trial in Arcadia on the 29th.
Arcadia. If you know, you know. He probably, oh, he does have those things on his legs.
I can't be ready that fast.
How about on July 23rd?
That'll work.
That works for the state.
What time, Judge?
9 a.m. So I will order a pre-sentence investigation report and have the Department of Corrections prepare that. And then we'll set
He was just playing with the hair on his
sentencing
chinny
and
chin
Spencer
chin.
hearing.
I want the Spencer hearing at 9 and the sentencing at 1.
That's fine. We can do that. Start in the morning and then recess until the afternoon. So I'll give you all day on Tuesday, July 23rd, beginning at 9 a.m.
July 23rd is the official sentencing for this guy.
Mr. Wilson, I believe he's already been fingerprinted, but it may need to get fingerprinted again and remanded, or does he need to get fingerprinted? Okay. Then he'll just be remanded. He'll be held without bond until July 23rd, until sentencing and Spencer hearing on July 23rd, beginning at 9 a.m. Any other issues that the court needs to address?
Thank you. No, sir.
All right, thank you. Then we'll be adjourned.
It's crazy just to see him loose, though. He's humongo. He is absolutely huge. How long did the jury deliberate? Let's see. I'm not sure. Just over an hour and a half. Just over an hour and a half.
Cocaine, 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 cocaine. It's cocaine.
It's cocaine.
What a clown. Okay, so I have one more update for you guys before we conclude Monday Live. I have an update in the Courtney Clenny case, which we are kind of in the bushes following.
I'm treating it as a
We're in the bushes following this. The latest is that the judge has thrown out key evidence in her case. So let's take a listen. This is Law and Crime Fix.
And attorney Frank Prieto, since they were privileged communications. Clenny and her parents were in court this week when the judge issued part of her ruling.
I am granting the defense's motion
in part as a motion. I'm treating it as a motion to exclude, and I'm granting it. So you guys can read through this, and I'm going to, and you'll see that in Mr. Clerk.
So those text messages are not allowed to be used as evidence. The judge went further in writing. The defendant's motion to suppress and or exclude is granted. The court finds that Courtney, Kim, and Deborah Clenny have all been represented by Frank Prieto and Sabrina Puglisi since August/September of 2022. The communication sought to be excluded by the parties is protected by attorney-client privilege and or work product privilege. This privilege was violated, albeit perhaps unknowingly, when the communication was read by prosecutors in this case. The court finds that the crime fraud exception for privileged communication under Florida statute does not apply to this case because the state of Florida has made no prima facie showing that defendants knew their communications could be an alleged crime. The proper remedy for this breach of privilege is exclusion of the communication from use in this case as evidence. So without the text messages, there really may be no case here. Frank Prieto is Courtney Clenny's lead defense attorney. Frank, your reaction to the judge's ruling saying that her attorney-client privilege was violated?
Anjanette, first, thanks for having me here today. I mean, it was long overdue. The judge clearly, she took evidence, she took testimony, and I think that her order speaks volumes that she saw that the conduct on behalf of the state attorney's office was wrong. They invaded the defense camp and attorney-client privilege, and that was clear to the court.
So what's the next step now? Because can these charges even stand without that text message evidence? Obviously, the state attorney and the law enforcement officers felt that you all had done something wrong. The judge feels differently. She said this was a privileged communication. So what happens next?
Well, and the judge, to be a little more specific, just to follow up, the judge also found that there was no crime fraud exception to the attorney-client privilege, basically saying, listen, the attorneys did nothing wrong. And actually, the Florida Bar rules and ethics and advisory opinions support that. We have a right to investigate our case. And we did that with the laptop, and it was completely legal. So now it puts the state in a very precarious position where they don't have these text messages that they were using to support the charges in that case of the computer, unlawful access to the computer. So quite honestly, I believe they have no other choice. And if they're going to do the right thing, they need to drop these charges around in what we call a nullo prosequi in that case.
Is there some type of time frame in which that decision has to be made?
There is no time frame, but again, if the state attorney looks at this and looks at the conduct of her assistant state attorneys, the lack of evidence that they have in that case, and by the way, nothing was done illegal, they should drop it as soon as possible.
What has this been like to go through this with your client? Because you've been representing her on this second-degree murder charge. You contend that she acted in self-defense. It's a hotly contested case. The state attorney says this was a second-degree murder and that she's guilty of a crime. That's their contention. The Abamseli family feels the same. But then you had this added onto it where you had this other additional charge to deal with. As a defense attorney, what's it been like to deal with that?
Well, from the defense attorney perspective, it's what we do. We will attack the case and we'll vigorously defend Courtney. But what it's done, the detrimental effect of these bogus charges, is that it's delayed Courtney's second-degree murder case by months, if not almost a year, while these issues are litigated in a sideshow, quite honestly, of what these computer fraud access charges were. So it's delayed her case. She's in custody. We're coming up on 2 years in August. It's a shame that we can't get to the pursuit of the truth here quicker, but we will have our day in court and we'll show that Courtney was a victim here and acted in self-defense.
Does it have a chilling effect, though, on a defense attorney when a judge issues a ruling such as this, that you all were basically doing your job, that you had a right to investigate the case? It doesn't seem that she's found that any crime occurred. This is the judge's ruling, and that you're just trying to do what you do as defense attorneys, whether someone likes it or not. Does that have a chilling effect on you as a defense attorney or other defense attorneys watching this unfold?
Well, and Jeanette, absolutely. If you recall, or some of your viewers may recall, the search warrant that was issued in relation to that computer crime case basically listed the attorneys as co-conspirators or unindicted co-conspirators, to use federal language. But, that's unbelievable. It's outrageous conduct on the part of the state attorney's office to basically put into written pleadings that the attorneys were somehow participants in some type of conspiracy.
So this has everything to do with the case involving her parents. Tommy says it's 420. Let's get some turkeys for 420. I don't think it's for the second-degree murder charges, though. So let me tell you some background on this case. On August 10th, 2022, OnlyFans and Instagram model Courtney Clenny, who you see on the screen, was arrested for second-degree murder in the connection with the death of her 27-year-old boyfriend, Christian, also known as Toby. And that's who's in the picture. He was stabbed to death on April 3rd of 2022 at the apartment that the couple shared in the Edgewater neighborhood of Miami, Florida. I have a whole playlist on this case, but on the day of his murder, Clenny, who goes by Courtney Taylor online, called 911 to report that her boyfriend had been stabbed during an altercation between the two of them. She admitted to killing Toby, but said she acted in self-defense. She told police that her boyfriend had thrown her to the floor, so she grabbed a knife and threw it at him from about 10 feet away. However, the medical examiner said that his wound could not have been caused from a knife thrown at that distance. There was a history of domestic incidents that were filed in Austin, Texas, before they moved to Florida. So, she is charged with second-degree murder with a deadly weapon, and she was arrested on August 10th of 2022.
Where they were actually, at the end of the day, now that the judge sees the light.
And that's her in her not so OnlyFans mode, right? More young girls should see this, because what they see in those photos and videos is not real.
There was no crime committed. There is no crime that was committed by the Clenny family or the defense lawyers. And the judge's order speaks volumes to that.
Yes, this is the case where the parents were arrested with the computer crimes. They said that they changed things in the computer or something, and there was all these text messages and stuff. I have all the body cam of the incident. I'll share that link in the chat, or if one of the moderators can grab the Courtney Clenny OnlyFans model playlist, we have a lot of videos on that.
We have a right to investigate our case. If the police leave evidence behind, I have an absolute duty to investigate that, look through it, and the obligation would be to turn it over if there is evidence. And at the end of the day, guess what? There's nothing on this laptop that's useful for the state or the defense.
When is the trial now going to take place? I mean, it was going to take place, I thought, this year. That's what the goal was.
Probably not anymore.
For sometime later this summer. So when do you see this taking place?
Well, unfortunately, I think the earliest would be the end of the year. It may go into the first quarter of next year, simply because now that we have this judge's ruling, this is going to have a spillover effect into the second-degree murder charge case, because it's clear that the state attorneys reviewed confidential attorney-client privilege communications where we were discussing our defense strategy for the murder case. So they were privy to our interpretations of information our experts that we've hired, and they've invaded the defense camp. So clearly what's coming down the pike here is a motion to recuse the entire state attorney's office in Miami-Dade, because they cannot be fair and impartial. They have now got a glimpse into the defense's strategy. That can't stand.
I was going to ask you about that, if you were going to ask them to recuse themselves, because if the judge is saying that you didn't violate attorney-client privilege, and yet there were these text messages that they went through, and that's what law enforcement does. They download a cell phone and they go through this stuff and they look through it. I mean, it's like, should a special master have been appointed to go through this and look at what was privileged and what wasn't? And that does happen sometimes in these cases.
Right. And that's exactly, that's a great point. Had the state attorney's office acted properly, ethically, as soon as they saw there were communications between attorneys, they should have stopped. They should have brought it before the court for in-camera proceedings, for the court to make a determination whether it's protected material. But this prosecutor wanted to be the judge and the jury and the prosecutor all in one, and he just decided unilaterally, oh, well, Mr. Prieto can't represent the family, so I'm just going to read through everything. It's comical.
So were you technically representing all of them at that point in time, and then it becomes, when they are charged with the crime?
That's her parents right there. That's Kim, and his name is Kim. What is her name? Deborah. Kim and Deborah Clenny.
Can't represent them, so they get other counsel, the parents, I mean?
Yeah, that's correct. So part of the evidentiary portion of the hearing on whether or not the state attorneys invaded the attorney-client privilege, we introduced the retainer agreement that I had with the Clenny family, not just Courtney, with the entire Clenny family dating back to September and actually April of 2022. So we provided that to the court. She reviewed it, and yeah, so I was their family attorney advising them on multiple factors related to the cases.
Patrick.
But when it came down to the fact that the state basically accused myself and my co-counsel, Ms. Puglisi, of being co-conspirators in that case and witnesses in that case, we brought in outside counsel, which is the proper and ethical thing to do.
So what's the next step now, other than working toward a
Look at her. She has pink handcuffs too.
trial date? A motion to recuse, you're saying, will be filed, that you'll be filing that to recuse the state attorney's office. What happens after that?
So if the court, and we believe the court should grant a motion to recuse the state attorney's office.
So then what happens?
So if that does happen, the governor needs to appoint a separate state attorney's office from another circuit, and they'll take over the case, which is obviously going to delay things even longer. But there's still quite a lot of motions that will need to be litigated. We have motions to suppress. We're going to be presenting. We have experts lined up that we've already disclosed to the state. There's potential other experts that we're looking to hire. There's still a lot of meat on the bone, so to speak, of what the defense has to accomplish before we're trial ready. So we're probably looking into early next year.
Frank, the body camera footage that came out in discovery that showed Courtney in the immediate aftermath of this stabbing as first responders arrived, do you have anything to say about that, about what it showed with how Courtney was responding and reacting?
Yeah, and Jeanette, that's not new to me. I think it's new to the media that they've put that out there. But yeah, I've reviewed it all, and it's quite telling in her reaction. She's clearly in distress. She's in excited state. She's clearly in panic mode. She was just holding her boyfriend in her arms as he was bleeding. And one thing that I find very telling is her statement to the police is her concern for her boyfriend, and followed up with her early statements about what had happened, that she threw the knife, that he was
She's like from 10 feet away.
So her statement immediately upon the first responders showing up is completely consistent with what she told the investigators at the Homicide Bureau when she was interviewed. Her story has never changed. It's been consistent because the fact of the matter is she was defending herself that night.
Frank Prieto, thank you so much.
Well, we saw her beating on him several times in different body cams, but you can check out my playlist here. It's got this dog. And I don't know why that's even in there. That's not even the right video. But I have some of her hearings and her body cam. A lot of her hearings have been delayed. So they schedule them. I've done lives and then they don't happen. So then, you know, it ends up not happening. But what it has happened is on my channel. But along with the first on the scene body cam, her arrest footage, and then some witness statements from the people that lived in that building with them. She comes across spoiled. Oh, yeah. Hey, Kels. We are just about to wrap up this Monday because we have Tuesday morning tomorrow. We're going to be going over the latest headlines and discussing a little bit about Sebastian Rogers and anything else that comes up in the morning. So we will be reconvening here at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow for Tuesday in the morning, J for J in the morning, right here on J is for Justice. I want to thank you guys all for tuning in. Thank you for your tips. Thank you so much. And thank you for being here. If you could hit that like button on your way out, if you haven't already, it is greatly, greatly appreciated. Let's roll our credits for Myron, and I'll see you guys tomorrow morning for J for J in the morning. Let's do it.
I mean, I'm sure there was stuff long and swung. And
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this live stream or video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on my latest content. Want to take it a step further?
Bring it all in.
And join our community clickers by becoming a Patreon or a YouTube member. You'll get exclusive access to our Discord server, special channel perks, and much more. Until then, I'll see you in the next one.
Click, 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 click. It's real easy, man.
I don't give a damn. I don't really care about you and your problems. I don't give a damn. You talk way too much. I have heard enough about you and your problems. I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn. Damn, damn. I don't give a damn. Damn, damn. I don't give a damn.
Psychopathy.
Did I ask them to do that?
Why are people such idiots?
You wanna be with me. You wanna feel
fucking fuzzy slippers and lip gloss.
You're making plans to get to France, but don't wanna face the fact that I ain't got time, I ain't got time, I ain't got time for that. Staying up late, sleeping all day, dreaming about Cadillacs. Buying new shoes, hanging by the pool, sipping on Coke and Jack.
I don't want Jennifer or two Jennifers.
Thanks so much, Jennifer.
Everybody does that. It's okay.
Jennifer loves horses. Hi, Jennifer.